Hey, what's up guys? Imran here, Monster Gadgets, and it's been a few weeks since I've seen all of your lovely faces, but I am happy to be back. I've been busy with Ramadan that just passed as far as fasting and doing those type of things, but I truly have missed uploading a video. So I am back, and today we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about owning a Model 3, whether you own a long range or performance, and particularly about my experience dealing with tire swap for the summer of 2023. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Alright guys, welcome back. So one of the questions that I get asked the most is it worth it to own a Model 3 Performance as compared to a long range or standard range? So the short answer is yes, but there's some things you need to be aware of before you take the plunge and buy the Performance. Now, as you know, recently Tesla did adjust their prices as well as their lineup. So actually the long range Model 3 as of today for 2023 is not available to purchase. It is on their website as available in 2023, but right now you can only purchase the rear wheel drive or standard range as well as the performance. And the difference in price between the two is roughly about $13,000. When they did offer the long range, the price difference between the long range and the performance typically is anywhere between $5,000, $7,000, maybe at the most $10,000 depending on the price history and what they're selling it for. But it might not seem like a whole lot between the long range and performance from a price standpoint, depending on, again, what date you're talking about and where the prices are at that time. But the one thing that you need to be aware of, actually two things that you need to be aware of, is number one, the performance model only comes with the summer tires, whereas long range and standard range comes with a all-season tire. So what does that mean? Well, if you buy the performance, you do have to swap tires out if you live in an area where you have winter. So if you have multiple seasons, I have a separate video on tires. You guys can go check that out on my channel. But if you're going to swap out tires, it can cost you anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000 for winter tires, and then having basically two sets, whether you do just tire swaps or you do a full tire and rim. So there could be extra cost added to that. Keep that in mind. Number two is going to be the suspension. The suspension on the Model 3 Performance is very different than the long range. And so for those of you that have never owned an EV before, because there's no engine, it's already very prone to picking up sounds from the road, such as little rocks, pebbles, those type of things that you might drive over. And of course, if you hit a pothole or something, the way that it's going to respond to on a car that's a long range or standard range versus a performance is going to be very different. So as you can imagine, because you can hear a lot of noises without having an engine, it's going to be that much more in performance as compared to a long range and standard range. So those two things is to be very mindful of when you're considering a long range as compared to a performance. Now, similar scenarios as it comes to Model Y and Model S as well as Model X, those things still all apply except the tires. Keep an eye on what they're offering as far as performance tires, seasonal tires, or again, summer, winter tires, those type of things. So keep that in mind. All right. Let's talk a little bit about my experience with tires altogether. Now, I've got roughly about 36,000 miles on my car. I have the original tires that came with it. Then I swapped out for my winter tires. I've had those for 2 seasons now, and they're still pretty good. But this time when I went to Discount Tire to go put my summer tires on, they told me because the tire depth was too low, from a safety standpoint, they could not mount my tires. In my opinion, and I'll show you guys what my tires look like currently, they're in fairly decent shape. But because Discount Tire has a standard of keeping everybody safe, they actually will not put the tires on because it's below a certain value. So I was basically left with ordering a new set of tires. Now I did think about going with the all-season tire, but I quickly changed my mind because if you're putting an all-season tire on a performance car, you're not going to get the true performance out of it that it should be able to perform at. The whole reason of buying a performance is because you want that extra speed, you want that extra performance essentially. So I decided not to go with the all-season for that reason, as well as the all-season tires offered for the Model 3 does not have sound dampening. So what does that mean? So again, I talk a little bit about as far as the noise that it picks up. If it doesn't have the extra foam for the sound dampening, it's gonna pick up more noise. So the winter tires that I had on there does not have sound dampening, and it is quite a bit louder because it's a winter tire, plus it doesn't have that extra foam. And I truly did not want that to be all season long with the all season tire. So for those of you that might not know, keep that in mind. Now, are they developing technology and will they be available later on? Probably, but at this time, based on my research as well as what Discount Tire told me, they do not have a all-season sound dampening tire for a Model 3. So I went ahead and ordered basically the same tires, the Pirellis that come with the stock Model 3 Performance, except because there's still some supply chain shortages. I was told that it would be in about a week or so. So I figured no problem, I'll go ahead and wait a week. So I went ahead and placed an order. Now, I had an appointment set with Discount Tire. I got their text messages confirming the appointment. I went ahead and confirmed it the day that I got there. And by the way, I've updated this stuff on Twitter too. So if you're following me on Twitter, you should be. I have been tweeting my experience, but I'll go in a little bit more detail here now. So I went the first day, they pulled my car in and they realized my tires actually were not even delivered. So they had no tires to put on my car. The manager came over to me, explained to me what happened. I, of course, was upset because I've been waiting for a week. And I kept my schedule open for Saturday morning for me to go and get my tires swapped out at Discount Tire. So my Saturday morning was basically ruined. And so the manager assured me that they'll go ahead and reorder them and they'll be in a week or so. So another week goes by and turns out that the tires that they got, this time they got 3 tires in instead of 4. And so of course they couldn't do anything. So my appointment again was moved. And finally, the third time when I went to get my tires installed, they had all 4. The manager actually did take care of me, even though I was ticked off for my experience. What he did was he offered $150 off for the inconvenience and then $150 off, another $150 off because they messed up the second time. First, he offered me a storage. He said he can store my tires for free and for the season. That way when I don't have to take my tires back home and bring them back to Discount Tire when I'm ready to go ahead and put my winter tires on. So I asked him what the value was for that. He told me it was $150 and I'm like, you know what, instead of you storing my tires, I'll just take my tires back myself. But if you can give me a credit for $150, that would be much appreciated. And that's exactly what he did. So I ended up getting basically $300 off. But here's my take. Between the time that I originally ordered my tire to the time that I got my tire installed, it was roughly about 2.5 to 3 weeks. In that time frame, I was actually on my winter tires, and there were times, the Chicago weather is crazy. There are times where the weather was in 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 degrees. There were times where it was actually in the 40s. Now, winter tires are safest to drive 45 degrees or below. So when you drive on winter tires above 45 degrees, not only the tread wear wears out faster, but it's actually not safe to drive on winter tires when it's 70 some degrees outside. But according to Discount Tire, I was safer driving on winter tires instead of driving on my older summer tires, which I respectfully disagreed, but I didn't have a choice. And so now the issue that I have is I probably did lose more tread wear driving my winter tires on 70, 80 degree weather as compared to, again, them being rated to be 45 or below. As of right now, they promised me that my tires are still in good enough shape to be used next year in the winter. So hopefully I won't get to a point where if I go to get my winter tires installed, they'll tell me the tread wear is too low and now I'm stuck ordering new winter tires. So this whole experience ended up costing me about $1,850 out of my pocket to get new summer tires put on. Again, I've got 36,000 miles on it. And these Pirellis are actually not rated for a certain number of miles because they're ultra performance tire. Whereas if you go with a Michelin, do your research on that. I personally wouldn't recommend it, but they are rated for a certain number of miles, meaning if they are defective below that, then you will be covered by Michelin. Unfortunately, the Pirellis are not, so keep that in mind as well. So when I go back, as I talked earlier, as far as the prices go, it might not be that much of a difference in price between the long range and the performance, but you do have to deal with these type of things, having a performance car if you want the performance tires on it, as well as a winter instead of the all season. Hopefully that was helpful in understanding some of the issues you might come across owning a performance, as well as some of the price points. But if you have any questions, go down below in the comment section. Let me know what your thoughts are, which one you would get if you had the choice to do it right now. And if you currently own one of the two, do you feel any different as far as if you were to do it all over again? So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.